Yes. Go, Mitch, go, go, go! Woo! Yeah, Mitch! Woo!
Dear high school student, I have a little advice I'd like to offer. Something to remember when your world seems to be falling apart. It may be something that makes you realize that one day all of this will be worth it. There are so many aspects to high school besides getting an education. When you're not in class and you're amongst your fellow classmates, you're still learning. You're learning how to react, learning to grow, and how to handle what life throws at you. There are times when you feel like you have no one, and you have to learn to be strong on your own. There are times when you have to let people out of your life, and it seems like the toughest thing you'd ever have to do. But in the long run, it was worth it. So first of all, remember to love who you are no matter where you are in life, but especially in high school. Because sometimes instead of being true to who we are, we let ourselves become suppressed to all the pressures that high school brings. Don't let high school break you and then make you into somebody that you don't want to be.
Freshman year. Okay.
Okay, so going into high school, I was the only person who came from my grade school going into my high school. So I kind of felt like going in, like I thought more people would be in my shoes, I guess, in my mind.
Honestly, it was pretty scary going from a little school and then going into a different kind of school and having to meet all different kinds of people that you never really have met before, and they have different personalities. And being that I was so shy, I got into the wrong kind of a group.
Freshman year was fine. It was an interesting transition from grade school to high school. Things actually counted in life.
I know some of my friends, they stayed together pretty close, and I was always kind of the off wheel of that sometimes.
I was never involved, especially freshman year. I was probably one of the quietest people, so I didn't get involved at all because I was honestly just afraid of other people judging me.
At the time, it really sucked, and I remember coming home on Friday nights, and I would want to go to football games, and then I would want to go to mixers, but I didn't have friends to go to the stuff with. So and I didn't want to just show up by myself because that would just make me even more sad.
And freshman year was pretty bad for me because I wasn't able to do the things that most high school students were doing because my group was always just in the drama, and we were worried about what others thought of us, but we weren't really caring. And so we just put that bad image on ourselves so others didn't want to be around us.
Dear high school freshmen, I need you to know that you're not alone. You were so excited to go to high school, and when you got here, nothing seemed to go as easily as you planned. You didn't make friends as easily, you didn't fit in right away, and you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin for the first time in a really long time. You thought it would have been easier. Freshman year, I remember feeling like no one wanted me to be around. I remember feeling like I had to be this fake person to make friends, so I pretended to be everything I thought other people wanted. It was the most socially exhausting year of my entire life, and when it ended, I was beyond relieved. High school freshmen, please remember something. You're not going to have everything figured out in a few months, and that's normal. You need to understand that the way you feel, everyone else feels that too. It doesn't mean that you're not important. It just means that you need to understand that everyone is scared, so you're not alone. So don't get offended if you don't get invited somewhere, or you don't fit in with the first group of friends you make in high school. No one knows where they belong or who they are just like you. It's going to be okay. We've been there. We've survived.
Sophomore year was interesting. It was, the end of my freshman year was when my dad died, and then sophomore year was really weird because, everyone else, they're doing these father-son things. They're doing things just with their dads, and everything was normal for them, but it was kind of different for me.
My sophomore year started getting better compared to my freshman year, and I started getting friends, and luckily I got into a good group. But then, as the year went along, I decided that I'd be the high school sophomore that would get a boyfriend.
Honestly, I'd probably do everything different. I'm taking it more serious. Kind of blew it off freshman and sophomore year. It came back to bite me in the rear end.
So I just wish I would have just like jumped into it. I wish I wasn't so timid my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, which I feel like is a lot easier said than done, but.
Definitely would have branched out more in high school.
My sophomore year was definitely the year I learned the most about myself. I had to kind of like look at myself and say kind of like take a step back and say like, are the people who like I wasn't really friends with anymore, were they really like the people I wanted to be friends with from then on, or if I even wanted to make an effort to be friends with them. And so like it was just interesting. I kind of like changed perspective, and
I just focused on this one guy, and all I did was hang out with him, and all I did was talk about him. And so the group of friends that I did get, they were going away because of the fact that they didn't want to hear about it.
Dear high school sophomore, you feel like you finally have high school figured out. You think you have all the ins and the outs, the do's and the don'ts, and it feels great. You know where you're going in the halls, the juniors don't scare you as much, and you love that you're not inferior anymore. But here's something that you can't admit to yourself. You can't admit that you feel like you're constantly acting like somebody you're not every day amongst your friends. You can't admit that there are a lot of times that you just don't feel happy. You feel more alone with your group of friends than you do when you're sitting by yourself in your room. For me, my sophomore year seemed like one of the best years of my life until everything hit the fan and I realized I wasn't sure I liked who I was becoming. I didn't know who my real friends were, and I didn't know that it's more important to be happy on my own than with somebody else. So don't go looking for someone to make you happy. Find happiness on your own. Don't act like someone you're not just to impress people you go to school with. Be comfortable in your skin, because others will see that the real you is more incredible than somebody you're pretending to be.
Going into junior year, I already had the idea that junior year was going to be absolutely miserable.
Some of the things that I think that I would have done differently junior year were I would have listened to the counselors when they were telling me to start looking at colleges and to start taking prep classes for the ACT and everything.
It dealt with a lot of late nights, homework in every class, a lot of trying to balance your schedule. Junior year, in my opinion, is the year that most colleges look at, so there was this pressure that if I don't do well and if I don't do a lot of activities, I may not get into the college that I want to.
Junior year is also looked at a lot by colleges because that was the year before your senior year, and they know that they need all of those parts combined to accept you. And I feel like if I would have tried a little bit harder on that, I would have had more opportunities in college and everything, looking into it.
Like always in the back of my mind, like there was this like pressure that I gotta do more, I gotta stay up later, I gotta study harder. And after a while, after a quarter or two, like especially dealing with football at the same time, it's just really hard to juggle everything. So the pressure, I'd say, was really like heavy on my back. It was a burden.
Dear high school junior, life came at you fast. You're realizing that the future is quickly approaching and you're not sure you're ready for it. The stresses of school and friends and anything you do outside like sports or theater starts overwhelming you because there seems to be so much to do in no time at all. I remember junior year being the year that took pieces of me away. When my third year of high school ended, I realized that everything I thought to be true about myself and what I thought I knew wasn't true, and I felt like my world shattered. Remember to breathe. That staggering feeling of complete helplessness will go away because you're strong enough to get through it. Realize that you're strong enough to get through anything that life throws at you. And remember that every day you don't feel strong enough is a chance to show the world how capable you really are, because you will get to move on.
Senior year was a lot better than any of my other years in high school. I think because the entire grade has come together.
I feel like I learned the most about myself my senior year, just because I had to make some decisions and I had to react to how different situations affected me in different ways. And I feel like that helped me develop my character.
Really found people that I really enjoy being around, unlike the rest of the 3 years where I didn't really have a set friend group that I hung out with.
But I feel I've matured over the years. So, yeah, a lot more freedom. But I mean, when you have that much freedom, got a lot of responsibility.
So far this year, it's been a fun year. It's been more about what I want to do rather than what everyone else wants to do. So
it's one of those things that, you know, that really shows where I've grown as a student and as a person ever since freshman year.
Senior year is different because I finally learned who I am and what kind of friends I need, and then that allows me to just be myself and not focus on what other people think and just do my thing so I can have fun and live the life I'm supposed to live and not what anyone else thinks.
Senior year is going to be one of the best moments of your life. I know it's so cliche when people are like, oh, senior year really does fly by, but I'm not kidding. It really does fly by.
Feels like I was starting yesterday. The old cliche.
So, high school senior. The last 4 years have flown by quicker than you can imagine. You've laughed, you've cried, and suddenly, you can see with clear eyes how much you've grown since high school began. You've lost a few people on the way, but you finally realized who your real friends are, and you cherish every moment of stupid fun you have together. You've learned that sometimes it's okay to not be okay. You're learning that if you fall down 7 times, you get up 8. And you realize that the importance of what matters. There are a lot of things that are going to be changing, and with the help of our high school experiences, we've learned to handle the things to the best of our ability. Each of our experiences were so unique to each of us, and even though sometimes we hated high school, we're thankful for the opportunities it's given us to grow and become better people. Dear high school me, thank you for becoming someone who has learned what it means to be strong. Thank you for sticking through some of the hardest moments of life. Thank you for realizing when enough was enough, and knowing that there is a certain time for right things in your life. Thank you for knowing and understanding that high school can really get to you sometimes. There were nights when you cried yourself to sleep because of all the stress, but thank you for seeing the beauty through the pain. High school me, you've come a long way, and you still have a long way to go, but keep going. Thank you for seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So high school. We all have our opinions about you because you've given us a lot of the last 4 years. You've given us so many people we'd like to thank. They've helped us get from where we were to where we are today.
Okay, so the people that impacted my life the most are probably my immediate family.
The people who impacted my life the most were my teachers and coaches.
So my parents have always been there for me, whether I knew it or not, or whether I went to them or not. They were always supporting me, and they were always there asking me if I needed help or what they can help with. And I just think that without them, I would have never been able to get through high school.
I guess I want to thank my triplets, Zachary and Jocelyn, because I was blessed enough to be born with 2 best friends.
The number one person I think of is my sister. Her name is Sarah.
My mom, she's always been the one that's kind of been there for me and done everything for me, even when I don't ask her to.
You've given us memories we're going to cherish and keep with us for the rest of our lives, because they were with people we'll never forget.
Okay, so my favorite memory would be the first big sleepover I got invited to my freshman year.
The first time I ran out onto the field as a sophomore.
And that night we planned out who we were gonna ask to the dance and everything, and we had this big dry erase board in her basement, and we wrote down all the names of all the girls in our group, and then we wrote down the names of all the boys that we wanted to ask to our dance.
Mr. Klusman comes out. He's like, oh, hey boys, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I just popped a tire in the parking lot. He's like, oh, let me teach you how to fix it. So he got down on his 90-year-old knees and changed my tire, and that's how I learned how to change a tire.
You've knocked us down a few times, but from that, we were given the chance to grow wiser. And from those experiences, we've gained advice we'd share with others.
The most cherished piece of advice I would share with someone else would be that you can't love and accept other people until you love and accept yourself.
My junior English teacher gave us all a little talk and said, don't be an 8 to 2:30 guy. And that's really stuck with me, because what he means by that is you don't really just want to be that guy that people just see at school and you don't really do anything outside of that. You want to be able to experience everything that high school has to offer.
You weren't always nice to us, and there were times that we had to let some of the people go that we met, and it was hard. But we grew from those losses, and we see what more we have to gain.
Most recently, actually, I broke up with my girlfriend, and it was kind of rough for me. We dated for 2.5 years, and like people always talk about like you date your best friend, like that was true.
Yeah. Friendships that you have to just let go, which are hard, but I think a lot of the times we kind of forget that it's not being selfish, it's taking care of yourself.
High school. It's the 4 hardest years of your life. They're important for so many reasons. And we know that there were good times and bad times. But after graduating and going our separate ways, there is so much about high school that we're going to miss.
Dear younger me, where do I start? If I could tell you everything that I have learned so far, then you could be one step ahead of all the painful memories still running through my head.